looks like both of these players are opting for, just by on team preview, by having the Tyranitar, having the Sand Rush ability for both those Excadrills, make use of Tyranitar's Sandstream.
Yeah. We saw how Tyranitar can really play within the sand as well once once it gets it set up, whether it's actually going to be setting it itself with using like a max rockfall or something like that. So that's going to be very interesting here, but let's take a look at these leads now coming out for this game.
Well, very interesting indeed. Shohei just leading the Togekiss and the Excadrill, while Kimo is going to go ahead and show Togekiss and Gourgeist. Both of these players leading with their Togekiss. Again, Togekiss maybe one of the most dangerous Pokemon in the format, definitely one of the most common Pokemon in the format because of its ability to be a huge supporter with things like Helping Hand and Follow Me and damage with Super Luck.
Well, the biggest part of this very first turn 0 that we're seeing is also the fact that Gourgeist has the ability Frisk. So it's giving a lot of information to Kimo in terms of the items that are on both of Shohei's Pokemon.
And it looks like Kimo will be choosing to use that information to redirect the Iron Head from Shohei's Excadrill. Takes no damage from that because of the Babiri Berry. Takes a yawn, though, from Shohei's Togekiss, another one of the big techs that we usually see on the Togekiss, while Gourgeist is going to set the Trick Room. So Kimo seems to believe that his team will function much better in Trick Room against Shohei's team than without.
If we have the speed options here, it depends on how the rest of the Pokemon in the back are trained. Like, let's say we have the sand option here for Kimo, then it's possible that the Pokemon might be trained such that if there is a mirror match, then you might have that option, but it's actually going to be Milotic in the back.
Yeah, the yawn forces Togekiss to switch out on Kimo's side, gets the Milotic in. Excadrill is just going to go ahead and protect, trying to save some damage, while Trick or Treat does come out from Gourgeist. That is one of the best animations I have ever seen for a Pokemon attack. But Milotic will take the yawn on the switch in from Togekiss, so was able to switch out his own Togekiss to prevent it from falling asleep, but Milotic either has to switch out or take a sleep next time.
And that's a really heads-up play coming out from Shohei, just because now it's really forcing Kimo to have to reorganize their Pokemon instead of going on the offensive. I think Kimo would have loved to have that Milotic in order to get some damage, even though they were forced to switch out the Togekiss before. But look at this, we have to force out a switch here.
Yeah, Shohei is making such good use of the yawn, forcing switches on Kimo's side. Milotic switches out for Togekiss as well. And actually, looks like we're going to go ahead and get our first Dynamax. It's kind of late in the game for our first Dynamax, but that was a supersized Gourgeist. Now that's a Dynamax-sized Gourgeist.
That is going to be a Dynamax-sized Gourgeist, and I'm really excited to see what this Gourgeist is specifically going to do. Max Phantasm doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, Max Phantasm into the Togekiss, which just got Ghost typing added to it from Trick or Treat. So super effective damage and drops the defense of both the Excadrill and the Togekiss. We'll go ahead and eat the Citrus Berry, though, that we saw from Frisk. So able to heal up a little bit, but big damage that came out. That's huge, though. Gets the yawn onto the Dynamaxed Gourgeist.
Ooh, and it actually ended up, the Togekiss ended up eating that Earthquake there as well, which is great. But yeah, I think the yawn is going to be the most important part of what happened on that last turn, because this is just kind of classic of what Shohei has been trying to do, which is attempting to put Kimo on the back foot with those yawns. Now that Gourgeist is Dynamaxed, it has to make a decision. Does it want to take the sleep, or does it want to waste those Dynamax turns? Yeah,
and Shohei showing Protect on Togekiss as well. Has Protect on both Togekiss and on the Excadrill. The Protect will protect Togekiss from some of the damage, but not all. Still able to survive thanks to Citrus and the Protect cutting down the damage of that Max Phantasm, while the Excadrill takes another defense drop. It looks like Kimo also showing his own yawn against the Excadrill, but that big Gourgeist is now going to have to go to sleep after Togekiss takes an Iron Head and actually gets the knockout because there's no more Babiri Berry.
Yeah, the Berry Berry is so important for making sure that Togekiss has that sustainability in order to maintain its presence on the field and get off a bunch of helpful moves. Now that the Berry Berry is gone, it's not going to be able to take any sort of super effective steel type attack, which is what Shohei was definitely looking for. But it's going to be time for Tyranitar to hit the field, and Tyranitar is going to go ahead and change the weather there with that sand stream, and it's going to boost its defenses that way.
Yeah, so this seems risky though. Shohei has done an incredible job of stalling out this Trick Room. You can see one more turn of Trick Room left. Tyranitar, though, did just set the sand for Shohei's Excadrill. And also Gourgeist, the Dynamax Pokemon, is asleep. Tyranitar needs to do something big this turn.
Tyranitar is going to have to do something. Gourgeist is still going to be fast asleep, so you're not going to be able to do too much with at least the Gourgeist. And Tyranitar, though, actually going to show that it's a bit faster here with the Rock Slide.
Yeah, it gets the Rock Slide off onto the Togekiss and the Excadrill. Of course, Excadrill going to be able to fire back. Oh, never mind. Where there's a Rock Slide, there's a way. You get the flinch, and then the yawn comes through onto Shohei's Excadrill, putting that Pokemon to sleep as Trick Room expires.
Trick Room was really beneficial there in order for Tyranitar to end up moving first before the Excadrill, because the Excadrill, because of the Sand Rush, ended up having a faster speed. So it ended up actually being later in the priority over the Tyranitar. Now, though, Trick Room is over, and Gourgeist is still asleep in its Dynamax form. There really isn't a way for Kimo to set the Trick Room for a couple more turns, and that means Shohei has the ability to kind of bring in anything that was in the back, because we haven't seen what those Pokemon are yet, but we will find out that's going to be a Rotom Wash.
Yeah, Rotom Wash, a great Pokemon to be out here against the Tyranitar. Less good against the Gourgeist, but because Shohei did such an excellent job of stalling out everything Kimo was trying to do, Gourgeist is now no longer Dynamaxed, still asleep, and facing down this Excadrill and Rotom Wash. So really good plays there from Shohei. Kimo was able to get up the Trick Room, but not able to do anything with it.
And now we have to see a couple of swaps here. Even though the sand is up, Excadrill is actually going to be swapping out in exchange for Dragapult, maybe hoping that that's going to be a bit more useful with this new Dynamax that's going to be coming out for Shohei.
Yeah, Shohei has not Dynamaxed at all yet this game, so this is going to be a late Dynamax on the Rotom Wash. But without Trick Room set up for Kimo, with Gourgeist asleep, Rotom Wash, now that it's Dynamax, is going to be able to deal a lot of damage. Max Darkness actually coming out into the Gourgeist, but it's going to go ahead and eat its Colbur Berry and reduce that damage.
Colbur Berry is a really good tech to have on the Gourgeist just because it can survive those Max Darknesses, those big Dark-type moves a little bit better in case it needs to get the Trick Room off again.
Yeah, Tyranitar's Crunch will connect with the Rotom, though. Deals a little bit of damage. Gourgeist does wake up, gets the Trick Room off. So exactly what you said, the Colbur Berry allowing it to survive one extra turn to set up the Trick Room again. So Kimo now actually in a pretty good spot. Doesn't have the Dynamax, unfortunately. Would like to have the Dynamax offensive pressure. But Tyranitar and Gourgeist are slower and thus faster than both of these Pokemon and able to deal a lot of damage back.
Well, I would be a little bit concerned about the Rotom, but Rotom's actually going to be going for a max guard here really quickly, which is going to eat the Seed Bomb coming out from the Gourgeist. So Shohei is in a really good position right now, even though Excadrill is asleep in the back. That is the double protect.
Oh, caught both of the attacks. Kimo went for the double target onto Rotom. Tried to make a call, got it wrong. Dragapult's going to pick up the KO onto Gourgeist with that Shadow Ball. And that's a heartbreaker when every turn of Trick Room is so important. If both of your attacks fail, it's real hard to come back from that.
Absolutely. Again, Excadrill still asleep in the back. Not going to be too much of a problem, though, because this is still a way that Shohei is actually going to be stalling out these turns of Trick Room so that Excadrill can come back and potentially make use of that sand. Even if the sand is gone, then Excadrill tends to be a really fast Pokemon, so it will be able to get attacks off really quickly here.
Yeah, the good news is Milotic is still full health, so is Tyranitar, so still a lot of potential pressure here from Trick Room. But Shohei is also showing Protect on Dragapult, and if Kimo went for it again, which it looks like he did, went for the Crunch onto Dragapult while Milotic goes for the Hypnosis, but the Rotom dodges and fires back with a Max Lightning. That was Kimo's chance to get that Hypnosis off. Now the electric terrain's set, but it doesn't even matter because Milotic is just straight knocked out by that damage.
That was some huge amounts of damage there coming out from the Rotom Wash on Shohei's side, and that really means that this game is just about wrapped up here. Tyranitar's not going to be able to do too much more because it continues to miss these attacks, and Rotom Wash is still pressuring so much damage even though it's outside of its Dynamax form.
Yeah, even still, Rotom has the typing advantage. Tyranitar can get some flinches with Rock Slide, but not enough time. Only 2 more turns of Trick Room. Would need way more than that to pull off even a miraculous Rock Slide victory here. So it looks like Shohei is going to be able to take this game 1. But we'll be switching back into the Excadrill to protect Dragapult a little bit. There are still turns of Trick Room, so Tyranitar is still dangerous. Crunch fires off into the Excadrill on the switch and gets the defense drop and some good damage.
I really like that switch coming out from Shohei just because it does preserve the Dragapult, and it was absolutely reading the fact that Tyranitar wanted to go for the crunch, but that Hydro Pump there from the Rotom going to connect, and it's also going to proc the weakness policy that Tyranitar is carrying.
Yeah, so Kimo is forced to show weakness policy here. Sandstorm subsiding as well, but regardless, once Trick Room expires, that Excadrill will still be fast enough to knock out that Tyranitar. Tyranitar will be able to go for the Rock Slide, but misses the Rotom here, even with the weakness policy. Able to pick up the KO onto Excadrill, but misses on the Rotom.
The miss on the Rotom is huge because that means Rotom's going to be able to fire back one final attack here just to seal up this game, and it's going to be the Thunderbolt. So Shohei taking game 1.
Yeah, that was such a cool game from Shohei. Just the way that he was dancing around what Kimo was setting up early on in the game. I mean, that first Trick Room, Kimo got absolutely nothing out of, except for blowing the Dynamax on Gourgeist. Shohei was just so able to use the yawn from Togekiss, as well as his good positioning on the board to just make sure that Kimo didn't have an opportunity to go aggressive with any of his Trick Room Pokemon.
Yeah, it was such expert maneuvering coming out from Shohei, and it was a great setup by Kimo. I mean, you have to kind of, in this matchup, take a little bit more of those expensive setup turns where you need to get the Trick Room off, and then you need to switch in the Pokemon that you want to use in order to actually get off your damage. And with Tyranitar, that was really difficult to do because of all of the yawns that were coming out from Shohei to force Kimo into that difficult position of, well, I don't want my Pokemon to be put asleep, so I have to switch them out.
Yeah.
And that really put him in the back foot.
Yeah, the good news for Kimo, though, was there were times where it seemed like he was able to get himself into good position. When Trick Room was up, when he did have his sweepers out, like Tyranitar, like having the Milotic out as well, was able to exert some pressure, but those 2 turns in a row where Shohei just predicted exactly which Pokemon Kimo was going to target down, and then wasted those prime opportunities from Kimo. Really phenomenal play from Shohei. But if you're Kimo, you're looking at that and you're thinking, well, I got myself into that position where there was the possibility for a win. I just got the read wrong. So now you go back to the drawing board to figure out how to either get yourself in a better position than that, or to get the read right next time.
Leading Gourgeist was definitely a risk that had to have a high reward attached to it. I don't think that we're going to see too many adjustments, though, from either of these players. I think it was just more, though, the game plan that they were hoping to have got a little bit disrupted by one another, and particularly more so in Kimo's case than Shohei's.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think both of these players are probably pretty happy with in general their choices in that game. Kimo got some rough breaks. Missing the Hypnosis, of course, without any kind of accuracy boost.
Yeah, no
Hypnosis
coil.
is not super accurate to begin with. And also getting those reads wrong. But I'm really excited to see what this game 2 is going to look like, knowing that now. These players now have spent a game playing each other. They understand a little bit more about how their opponent how their opponent plays, and now they get to figure out, how do I change the way that I play to make sure that I win? Or for Shohei, how do I make sure that I'm stopping any kind of adaptation from stopping me?
I feel like when you're one up in this scenario, you kind of get a chance to, you have the edge, of course. You have a chance to kind of adjust your play style, which is actually a little bit different than just adjusting the Pokemon that you put on the field. But we noticed that Shohei ended up going for multiple yawns in a row, but I stand corrected here because we are going to see a bit of a read coming out from Shohei in terms of what they expected Kimo to lead.
Wow, yeah, that is an aggressive lead. We saw the expert belt from that Frisk as well. So Shohei is just going full offensive here with the Dragapult and the Rotom Wash. And you gotta like that matched up against the Togekiss and the Gourgeist. Kimo may be able to set up a Trick Room using Follow Me, but at what cost? Both of these Pokemon, the Dragapult and the Rotom Wash, can get a lot of damage done first.
Yeah, this is kind of the adjustment of playstyle that I was expecting. Instead of Shohei really being more reactionary, you are seeing a bit more of this aggressive style of play, but as we say that, it is going to be a bit of a change, just trying to preserve that Dragapult.
Yeah, it needs to preserve the Dragapult just in case. Togekiss will go for the Follow Me, so probably going to see that Trick Room coming out. Dragapult switching out is good then, so get the Togekiss in for the first turn of Trick Room. Actually, though, Thunderbolt not quite enough to pick up the KO onto Togekiss as Trick Room goes up.
Trick Room now going up is going to set Kimo up for a lot of success here, particularly because we noticed that that Tyranitar that they're running is a little bit on the slower side. Let's see if the Tyranitar is the one Pokemon that Kimo did bring in the back for this specific situation, but we also know now that Shohei is going to have the Dragapult in response as long as that Gourgeist gets removed from the field. As it stands right now, it is going to be, well, an ally switch now coming out, just in case we do see a Seed Bomb.
Yeah, Rotom gets some new tricks. It includes Ally Switch. It's going to go ahead and dodge the Togekiss. Use the Togekiss to dodge that Seed Bomb while Shohei fires off a Yawn back at that Gourgeist. So not too dissimilar from what we've seen in the past. No crits coming out from that Dazzling Gleam on Kimo's side. Just a little bit of damage. But yeah, the Ally Switch. Shohei has all of the tools they need to make sure that they can stall out as many turns of Trick Room as possible. Ally Switch, Follow Me, Protect on everything. It's going to be really hard for Kimo to make something happen.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of different styles of adjustments to how you play against a Trick Room team, but I really like the way that Shohei is playing this matchup, because even though there is that Trick Room option for Kimo, hasn't really been able to take advantage of any of that because of how well Shohei has been stalling that out.
All right, Air Slash from Shohei picks up the KO onto Kimo's Togekiss, while Gourgeist switches out for the Tyranitar. Kimo making the adjustment to ensure that there is some offensive pressure here by switching in the Tyranitar. Sand's going to deal a little bit of chip damage there, but with the knockout on Togekiss, Kimo will get a free switch in here back to the Gourgeist. So getting the Gourgeist and Tyranitar next to each other for some offensive pressure is probably exactly what he needs right now.
There is still quite a bit of offensive pressure, though, coming out from the Rotom Wash, which is carrying that Expert Belt, which I think is just such an interesting tech. Usually when we see a Rotom, we don't usually see the Expert Belt attached to it. It ends up being some type of berry or something to really keep it safe.
Try to be more bulky, but obviously Shohei is going a little bit more offensive. Togekiss protects this time, and finally Kimo hits a read. Seed Bomb will connect with the Rotom Wash and knock it out. So picks up a KO finally here, while Tyranitar's Rock Slide will go into the protect of Shohei's Togekiss. But good to know that Togekiss can now no longer, it would be much luckier for Shohei to get another protect off. So that tells Kimo that there is maybe a Pokemon that he can feel free to target down next side.
Dragapult coming back in for the Rotom Wash that has been felled. Shohei is going to have to play around this Gourgeist because Trick Room has one more turn, and you definitely don't want this Trick Room to get set back up here, and that might be what they're going for as they go for this Dynamax.
Yeah, this is going to be our first Dynamax of the game. We've almost gotten through the entirety of Trick Room without seeing any Dynamaxes, but Shohei going to go ahead Dynamax the Dragapult, get some huge offensive pressure for the moment that Trick Room drops. While using the Togekiss's Follow Me to protect the Dragapult from this Phantom Force from Gourgeist, from the attacks coming up from Tyranitar. But this Rock Slide is going to be a double target, just barely missed the KO on the Togekiss.
Oh, and Togekiss is within that range to be able to eat its citrus berry that we've seen before. Max Phantasm now, though, into the Gourgeist. Gourgeist might be buffeted by the hail, by the sandstorm underneath the dimension or wherever the Gourgeist may go with that Phantom Force, but this leaves it open and free to be able to use that Trick Room in a couple of turns.
So this is a fun, dumb thing that just happened. Gourgeist used Phantom Force to disappear from battle while targeting down one of Shohei's Pokemon. Shohei's Dragapult then went for the Max Phantasm onto that Gourgeist. Did not connect because it's vanished. Now, Trick Room has ended. It is now the slowest thing. So there is another turn where Shohei doesn't get to target down that Gourgeist before Gourgeist, now the slowest Pokemon on the field, gets to come back and deal damage. So Kimo planning for the end of that Trick Room very, very smartly there while taking this Max Wormwind.
Max Wormwind's a really great heads-up play, though, by Shohei, knowing that they're trying to just make the most of an awkward situation here. Going for the Yawn as well, they do get a chance to have the attack drop onto both of those Pokemon, and that's going to help a little bit here.
Yeah. The Yawn connects with the Tyranitar as Tyranitar hits Rock Slide right back onto the Dragapult and knocks out the Togekiss. Just a little bit of damage against the Dragapult from the Phantom Force as Gourgeist came back onto the field. Now it's finally targetable. Shohei can now target down the Gourgeist, but really strong plays there. Also, we talked about Shohei stalling out time from Kimo, using that Phantom Force on Gourgeist, able to stall out some of those turns of Dynamax from Shohei.
Stalling out quite a bit, though, because now Gourgeist really has to go for the Trick Room if they want to set up for success for Tyranitar. Otherwise, it's going to be the Dragapult and the Excadrill that are going to move the fastest on the field. I'm going to assume that Excadrill for Shohei is running that Sand Rush ability, and while the Sand is set for one more turn, it is going to mean that Shohei can push out a lot of damage in this next turn, and Kimo's going to have to be kind of recognize that. Potentially Tyranitar maybe going for a Protect here just to be able to get this Trick Room off and also stave off some of that damage.
Yeah, just trying to avoid this big damage that would have come out from Iron Head on that Excadrill. Successfully avoids it with the Protect. Max Phantasm from the Dragapult picks up the KO on to Gourgeist. Knows that is the best way to get the knockout onto Gourgeist since Kimo showed the Colbur Berry in the first game. Sand has subsided now, but Kimo's going to need a lot from the last Pokemon because Tyranitar has now fallen asleep thanks to the Yawn.
That was just a kind of an awkward turn there for Kimo, where they needed to stave off the damage so that the Tyranitar could potentially wake up, but also recognizing that it had been yawned a couple of turns before. That is just kind of making the most of the kind of a weird situation there.
Well, Milotic is the last Pokemon for Kimo. We've already seen Hypnosis from it. Most likely carries a Water-type attack, which would be super effective against that Excadrill. Maybe has an Ice-type attack for the Dragapult, but not usually considered one of the biggest offensive threats, although it looks like we're going to see Dynamax coming out.
A Dynamax is very good here because regardless of the Pokemon that ends up getting the Dynamax energy, it is going to mean a huge health pool no matter what, but it is going to be the Milotic receiving that energy, and that's going to be a double up to almost 400 HP.
Yeah, Milotic is bulky, and it gets a lot of hit points. And Dragapult's actually just going to go ahead and protect in the face of this while the Excadrill fires off Earthquake, which will connect with both Tyranitar and Milotic. Picks up the KO on Tyranitar, actually, and deals just a little bit to the Milotic.
Milotic's going to take that one on the chin, particularly because it does have the increased health points here. But, my goodness, that is not going to be something that this Excadrill can hang on to. But because of the Focus Sash, it will be brought down to that. That's something that we saw from the Gourgeist earlier from Frisk.
Yeah, the Focus Sash means that Excadrill is going to get another turn to attack here. Milotic showing leftovers, so indicating that it is generally a bulkier version of the Pokemon. It has 2 unchallenged Dynamax turns. Dragapult's pretty low. Excadrill's at 1 hit point. Milotic may be able to take this one home.
Milotic might be able to do that, absolutely. This is just so much health And really between the two that are just so low at the moment, between the Excadrill and the Dragapult, I mean, look at that. Thunderbolt just feels like a little bit of a... Oh, but it gets the paralysis.
Yeah, the paralysis is going to be a big deal, especially with Rock Slide coming out from Excadrill as well. Thank you, Dynamax, for preventing any kind of flinches. The Max Geyser does pick up the KO onto Dragapult, though. So Excadrill at 1 hit point against this big old Milotic needs that paralysis to have a hope here, because it looks like Kimo might have been able to bring this one back.
Shohei set themselves up for as much success as possible. It was really, really lucky to get the paralysis there. Earthquake going to try to do whatever it can. It's just going to be a little bit, but it does get the paralysis.
That paralysis is rough. One more Max Geyser, all that Kimo needed to knock out that Excadrill. The paralysis preventing Milotic from moving, losing the hit points from the Dynamax. Shohei played to their win condition, played to their outs, got the paralysis, got the damage that they needed to make sure that they could pick up the KO with this last Earthquake.
Yeah, that is going to be enough. Getting the final knockout here. Shohei taking the series with a 1 hit point Excadrill. What